One thing I want to look at, and I haven't looked at your learning goals yet, but this is something that I see from year to year, is a couple of things. People slightly misunderstanding what solving an equation means and not showing their steps properly. So I'm going to try to show you a few right ways and wrong ways of doing things. And if you think you might be doing it the wrong way, if you're still getting the right answer, that's fantastic, right? But we'll try to move towards showing our steps and communicating a little bit better. And I've said this before, in the long run, it's better if you can do it that way. Or you might pick up on one or two little things that are helping you get the right answer if you're not always getting the right answer. So one thing is we always want our answer to look like this. Whether it's X or whether it's A, some number goes in the box. Yes? Oh, thanks. Awesome. Can you see it now? Okay, good. So these are correct. So if my answer was 5, which one of these two is the way that we want to write it? I hope it's obvious. We don't just write answers like this. When we're talking about a variable, we want to write the answer as X equals whatever the number is. Okay, it's very important. Now I'm going to show you a way that we don't solve questions. So let's say the question was this: 2x plus 8 equals 12. This is what some people might do if they're trying to. This is a good start. You're solving by inspection. You're understanding what the equation means. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good stuff in here. But this isn't how we communicate our thinking. So it's just like when you're younger and you're learning to read and write and you're writing sentences out of order, not using punctuation correctly. You want to move towards better communication. But I can imagine somebody might do this. 2 times 2 equals 4. 4 plus 8 equals 12. So X equals 2. We got the right answer. But this isn't the way that we want to do it. So we can compare that to the correct way. And if you think, what's the difference? A lot of people like to ask, why can't I just do it this way? This is the way I like to. Because as math gets harder, your way won't work. It's too complex. Okay? It just won't work. It's also not how we communicate. That's like asking, why can't I just not use punctuation when I write an English paper? That's the way I like to do it. Because that's not how we do it, right? So it's the same kind of idea. So we're just trying to get better. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. Whoops. And so I get 2x equals 12 minus 8, which is 4. You can show the 12 minus 8 or just give the answer. And then I'm going to divide by 2, and I get, these are gone, and I get x equals 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So this is the way that we want to try to see it. So you might like to have that written down so that you have an example that you can follow. I saw a lot of people following this example that I left up there while you were doing your learning goal. That's what we want. If you have to follow a model at first, that's fine. And then hopefully eventually you do enough practice that it starts to become easier and you can do it without the model. Okay? Any questions about this? Okay, so we're going to try on one question here. So now I want you to write this down. You can write that down near the top of the back of your page. That's blank. And you can go ahead and try the first step. What do you think the first step is? And if you're not sure, think about the strategies. Think about the circle that we would start with. So I look for the x, and I see here it is. And I look at what else is with it. I want to get rid of this 7. But you can't just get rid of it. You can't just not write it. You're changing the balance. Remember a balance scale. Imagine it's like this. If I take 7 away from one side, I have to take 7 away from the other side. This is where I use my little circle. And that's going to be gone. I've taken the 7 away, so all I have left over there is 2x. Now here's where you may need your calculator, -1 minus 7, or visualize a number line, or whatever your strategy is, but you want to try to get this part right as well. If I'm at -1 and I'm going down 7 more, I'm at -8. If 2x's is -8, how much is 1x? So I can figure that out because I always divide by the number that's in front of the x. I always do this. And then those are gone. And then I get -8 divided by 2. And again, your calculator can do that part. You don't have to do that work in your head. Any questions about that? So we got -4 is that answer. A little bit trickier because of the negatives, I would say. But again, the steps are the same. The next question we're going to do is going to be a little bit different. So I want you to just look at it. You can write it down and think about what's different about it. Justin, what do you think? Yeah, there's 2 variables, the x in this case. Very good. And none of the other questions we've done look like this. So this one's a bit more of a challenge. If you're still working on the other kind, then just do those questions and don't worry so much about this. But some of you are probably ready for this challenge, so you can try this one too. Some of the questions on the other side have this, and some don't. The difference is, if you didn't notice yet, there's an x on both sides of the equal sign. We won't see many like this throughout this course, but it's good to challenge ourselves sometimes. So here's what we are going to do. We're going to do one step before it looks like the other kind of question. And the step is familiar. I'm going to move the 5x first. But I'm going to do it the exact same way. And I'm going to subtract x's from x's and numbers from numbers. That's it. One extra little step. What's 7x minus 5x? What's your gut tell you it is? 2x, you got it. 2x plus 12 equals, those are gone, because I took 5x away, but I took it away from both sides because it's like a balance scale. And what does this look like? This looks like every other question we've been solving for the last couple of days. So see how it's only one extra step. And so what do I do with this one? What do I do now? I'm going to move the 12, right? -6 minus 12, again, very nice, -18. Use your calculator for that if you have to. If 2x's is -18, I want to divide it by 2 to figure out what 1x is. Let my calculator do the heavy lifting. Figure out that it's -9. Stop and put your pencil down. What does that answer mean? Justin? Yep. And what does that mean? Oh my gosh, I'm losing my voice. What it means is there's one number that will actually make the equation balanced. So if I put 3 in for x, 7 times 3 is 21, 5 times 3 is 15. They're not going to be balanced. 21 plus 12 is not the same as 15 minus 6, right? You can see that. If I put 10 in, it's not balanced. If I put 0 in, it's not balanced. If I put -9 in, it is balanced. You get the same answer on both sides. That's what it means. Later on in the course, when we're solving equations like this, it'll mean something even more. It'll actually mean something in the real world, and that's when it'll be really nice. Okay, I want you to try this one. At least try the first step. You'll notice this is back to the old kind, but there is a trick in it in the way that it's written. I want to show you something because this is what's tricky about this one, and I can imagine a lot of people would make this mistake. You might have got this right. I want to move the 3. It's a positive 3, so I subtract 3. Remember, part of the trick is in the circle, if you circle them, and you may not have to circle them forever, but until you get used to it, it's a good strategy. You want to look and make sure one of them's positive and one of them's negative so that you eliminated it. And then you write down everything you didn't eliminate. And that's the tricky part right there. It's negative 3x. I could see a lot of people, 15 minus 3 is 12, missing the negative. That would be small, half a mark on a quiz anyway. Not a big deal if that happened. But that's the perfect answer. So what am I going to divide by? What kind of 3? Negative 3. Because I want to get rid of the whole thing. Again, we won't see this very much in this course, but sometimes, but it does still benefit us to do some work with integers throughout the course and revisit them and remind ourselves that they are a big part of mathematics. Another thing I just want to say is sometimes in mathematics, it feels like you're doing everything wrong when you're actually doing most things right, but your answer might just be wrong because you did one part of it wrong, and then you feel kind of bad about yourself and you get discouraged. So really try to write the solutions the same way I'm writing them, and we'll look over them together, and my guess is most people are mostly on the right track. Let's try another one. Ooh, this is a good one. I like this one. So I'm going to help you get started. This is the kind, again, that has 2 variables. Did you notice that? So I'm going to give you a tip. Put your pencils down and watch for a minute. I like always putting my letters to the left. So I'm going to move the 5x to join the 4x. Get all my x's together. They have to be on the same side. And I'm going to do a little circle. Hey, come on. I'm going to do my little circle. So what do I put in the circle to get rid of that 5x? Awesome. Positive 5x plus 5x, because the one that's there is already negative. And then I do the same to the other side. And what is 4x plus 5x? What does your gut tell you? We've talked about this, but what does your gut tell you? 4 plus 5, 9x. and I write everything else down, but that's gone. And now what do? I'm trying to get the x all by itself. So I get rid of that. Whatever I do to one side, I do the same to the other. Any questions? Okay, there's two more here. I'm going to put them both up. You can try them both. And then when you're done, you can flip over and do the practice. If you get those two done. After you've done the first step of E, be careful because a lot of people might have missed the -3. Sometimes it's enough to confuse us that X is on the wrong side. So if we just practice a few more times, sometimes that can help.